In the first shots we see a pregnant woman rubbing her son Jonah with a brush. This has long been a tradition for them. After wishing the son, who has difficulty communicating with people, a good night, Marlo retires to her bedroom. She reminds her husband Drew that tomorrow they were going to dinner with her brother Craig. Drew is nervous, as he has a promotion coming up at work. In the morning, Marlo gets the children ready for school. Jonah is very cranky and refuses to put his shoes on. Unlike his sister Sarah, who has asthma, Jonah cannot control himself. He doesn't like the fact that his mother parked the car another place, so he didn't want to get out. Marlo's nerves begin to gradually give out and she had to park in the old spot. Lori, the school principal, summoned Marlo for a talk. It's about Jonah. The thing is, he's different from the other kids. The boy takes a lot of time from teachers, and it's not fair to the other students. Marlo and her husband don't have the extra money to pay for a psychologist, but she promised the principal that they would work something out. Marlo went into a cafe and ordered a pastry and a coffee, frustrated. She saw an old acquaintance Violet, whom she hadn't heard from in years. Now they had no common topics of conversation, but they had agreed to call each other at some point anyway. Toward evening, the family went to visit Marlo's brother. He had recently bought a cool new car. Craig and his wife Elise's house is gorgeous. The children are looked after by the nanny, keeping them busy with all sorts of activities. Elise said that Marlo looked happy, and the latter was surprised. Craig and Elise's life seems perfect. They manage not only to work, but also to take care of their appearance. While the nanny spent time with the children, Craig asked Drew how he was doing at work. Elise said that 3 children was happiness, but Marlo looked more tired than happy. Left alone with his sister, Craig decides to give her a special gift. He wants to pay for a night nanny for Marlo, so that she can rest more and take time for herself. Marlo does not like this idea, because she does not want a stranger looking after her baby. He gave her the nanny's card, asking her to think about it. Later, Drew said he would have several business trips due to a promotion at work, but it was as if Marlo hadn't heard him. During the night Marlo's water broke, and Drew immediately took her to the hospital. The doctors put her under anesthesia, and soon she gave birth to a baby girl. Marlo was too exhausted to be happy. The brother and his wife visited her in the hospital. Drew had been asleep the whole time. Craig later told Elise that he felt as if someone had blown out the fire in Marlo. Lately she had become withdrawn and sad. In the evening Marlo argued with the nurse, who would not leave her alone. Marlo was soon discharged from the hospital. The daughter cried constantly, and the woman had to wake up several times a night. While Drew worked, she babysat. Every day was like the day before. Marlo felt exhausted to the extreme. Little Mia did not cause much tenderness in her. Sometimes her hopelessness made tears well up from her eyes. Jonah was becoming more and more out of control. The principal again called Marlo to talk. The woman knows full well that her children were only admitted to this school because of her rich brother. The principal said bluntly that they couldn't let Jonah stay with the other kids anymore. The parents needed to look for a new school for him. Marlo lost her nerve, took it out on Lori. She couldn't take that kind of life anymore. The baby was crying incessantly, and Marlo, who screamed in despair, could not calm her down. At that moment the woman remembered the card the brother had given her. Marlo didn't have time to cook, so she heated a half-cooked meal in the microwave. Drew came home from work late. The wife said she decided to call the night nanny because she couldn't do it by herself. Watching television, Marlo ate fast food. The night nanny, as arranged, arrived late at night. She turned out to be a nice girl named Tully. The first thing she did was to meet Mia. Marlo was very surprised at the young age of the nanny, but Tully assured her that she was older than she looked. Tully also told Marlo that she was here not only to take care of the baby, but also to take care of the baby girl's mother. Next to Tully, Mia did not cry at all. Marlo was confused, for this situation was new to her, but she went to bed anyway, telling her husband that the nanny was very strange. When Marlo drove her son in the car, he was acting very restless and even aggressive again. It turned out to be just a nightmare. Tully woke Marlo up to feed her daughter. In the morning Marlo felt truly rested for the first time in a long time. She was even more surprised when she saw that the house was in perfect order. During the walk, Marlo told her husband that the night nanny had completely met her expectations. Tully has got everything under control and knows exactly what to do. Now Marlo feels that life is not as bad as she had thought it would be in recent months. This evening Tully came again. Marlo felt very comfortable with her and was not ashamed of anything. Marlo wasn't used to anyone doing anything for her. When Marlo was feeding me at night, she told Tully about her other children. 8-year-old Sarah is a very intelligent and calm girl, and Jonah is becoming increasingly unmanageable. They have taken him to several doctors, but none of them has been able to answer the question of what causes his deviation. Every night Marlo rubs him with a brush like a horse, because it is the only thing that makes the son calm down. Marlo admitted that she was very tired. She has a degree in literature, but she works in human resources in the protein bar industry. She still hasn't decided what she wants out of life. In the morning Marlo discovered that Tully had made cakes. She decided to treat Jonah's former classmates as well as Lori. Marlo apologized for her behavior and said she would find a new school for her son. Today Marlo even had the energy to cook dinner, talk to her family, and play with little Mia. In the evening Tully came. Marlo seems to be getting as energetic as she is. Drew is going on a business trip. His flight is tomorrow. Marlo assured she'd be fine. The next day she took Jonah to the new school. In an unfamiliar environment, the boy behaved even more nervously. This was seen by one of the teachers who, to Marlo's surprise, calmed John down very quickly. He knew exactly how to approach children with special needs and told Marlo that Jonah could fully learn here. Marlo and Tully became close friends. Thanks to her, Marlo began to devote much more time to her children as she gained strength and desire. Drew returned from a business trip to his loving wife and children. Sarah noticed that the mother had started doing her makeup again. Marlo also began jogging, wanting to get in shape. This evening Marlo and Tully decided to drink sangria to relax. Marlo confessed that lately the fire had gone out of her and the husband's relationship. They love each other very much, but domesticity has made their lives monotonous. Marlo recalled that when he was young, Drew had worked part-time at a diner where waitresses wore uniforms with hats. Drew had been haunted by this fantasy ever since. Marlo confessed that she had bought herself such a uniform to please the husband, but she never fulfilled her plans. And now her body had changed dramatically. Tully had a crazy idea. She tried on the uniform and with Marlo went into Drew's room to surprise him. Drew of course wasn't expecting it at all, so he was confused, but then he quickly relaxed. The next morning he asked his wife what it was, but she said with a smile that they did not need to talk about it. Drew confessed that he enjoyed it very much. Craig and Elise hosted a children's party. The brother immediately noticed a positive change in his sister. She was now full of energy and seemed to glow from within. At home, Marlo put the children to bed. Tully was a little late. Marlo knew right away that something was wrong. The girl confessed that she had had an argument with her roommate, and she was upset about it. Tully wants to live separately and intends to tell her roommate directly, but Marlo advised her to be delicate and not to hurt her. Tully suggested that Marlo go out and have a drink since the children were asleep anyway. Besides, Drew was home. Marlo was skeptical at first since she hadn't been to a night out in a long time, but eventually she agreed. On the way, Marlo asked Tully why she was so kind to her. The girl only replied that she trusted her. They drove past the neighborhood where Marlo had lived for 9 years. At the bar, they ordered drinks and talked about all sorts of topics. Marlo hadn't felt this good in a long time. Later they danced and had fun without thinking of any everyday problems. Marlo and Tully had so much in common, even their musical tastes were the same. At one point, Tully admitted that she would have to leave. She could no longer work for Marlo. The woman was very upset by this statement, not understanding why Tully wanted to leave. All the girl said was that she had to move on. Stating that she was scared, Marlo took a bicycle and rode to her old apartment, where she used to live with her friend Violet. Tully followed her. Marlo wanted to meet Violet and reminisce about old times, but Tully said she couldn't keep them company. Suddenly Marlo became ill as her milk came. Tully took her to the nearest bar, where they locked themselves in the restroom. Marlo tried to pump the milk into the sink, but didn't get to do it. Then Tully helped her. When Marlo felt better, they drove home. Both were very sleepy, so they tried to distract themselves by talking. Marlo didn't want Tully to leave her, but the girl promised that everything would be all right. Marlo fell asleep at the wheel, and the car drove off the bridge and into the river. In half-dream, Marlo saw Tully swim up to her as a mermaid and rescue her. Drew did not leave the bedside of his wife, who had not yet recovered. A psychiatrist called him in to talk and asked him if Marlo had had any problems before. Drew said Marlo had become depressed after the birth of the son, but now a night nanny was helping her. In recent weeks Marlo seemed energetic and cheerful. Worried Craig arrived. When Drew was asked for Marlo's maiden name, he said Tully. Turns out Marlo didn't call any night nanny. She is Tully. And all this time the woman had been babysitting, did housework and everything else on her own. No one was helping her. Tully came to Marlo, who woke up. Apparently this was their last meeting. Tully said she was here to help Marlo through a difficult period, but now she must move on. When Tully disappeared for good, Drew came in. He apologized to Marlo, believing it was all his fault. Drew was so tired of work and the children that he forgot to take care of his wife. He said he would always be there for her because he loved their family more than anything else in the world. They hugged. Having recovered, Marlo returned home. One day Jonah said he wasn't sure this brush was necessary. He just likes spending time with the mother. They hugged each other. Now Marlo tried to enjoy every moment of her life. From now on, she and Drew do everything together.